Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are ready to get this day started. There we go. Hope you're ready to get this morning started. Hope you enjoyed the show yesterday. If you missed the show yesterday, we had a good time. We laughed. We had a really good time. We talked about my family. So if you want a good laugh, go listen to yesterday's show. Because we talked about my family and all the joys that come along with wanting to be likable. And what that looks like. So welcome to the Fearless Morning Show, where we are having confessions and conversations about your everyday life. My name is Yamitra Jojo Waddell, the only Live Past Crazy Specialist. What better place to be than here with me? Hope you're ready to get this morning started. Good morning, and how do you do? Well, I always have to sing that part, but I do. So if y'all missed the show yesterday, we talked about the likability trap and how you can get stuck in wanting to be likable or wanting people to like you. And good morning, Sunshine. How you doing? And so I told him, I always do confessions and conversations with JoJo. And so yesterday I told y'all my story with my family of how I got caught in that likability trap, doing everything my mama liked, my sister, my daddy, my brothers, my cousins, doing everything they like, doing everything my job like, and a whole host of people, and you don't even like yourself, but you caught in that likability trap. So go watch yesterday's show. It was funny. I told some good jokes. But let's get started right into, because the thought of the day is good. Yeah, I'm going to move it over here so I can see it. The quote of the day: no amount of hard work can overcome a negative mindset. No amount of hard work can overcome a negative mindset, period. If your mindset is no, your outcome will always be no. Please understand there is no in between. Everything starts with your mindset, period. So no amount of hard work can overcome a negative mindset. Because I know a lot of people that work hard and just as negative as they can be, they hate everything. They hate life. They don't like nothing. You can't make them like nothing. Period. All right. So today, the fearless thought of the day is willingness. But are you willing though? Come on, somebody. No amount of hard work. Period. Because and I always want us to look at our immediate surroundings. Look at our friends and family. Do you not know somebody like that? They hard working. They go to work every day. They provide, but they just ain't got nothing good to say about life. Even though they living and providing for people and doing some good things, but they ain't got nothing good to say about living life at all. They just negative Nellies all the time. Which is going to tie into the fearless thought of the day comes from Iyanla Vanzant, and it is about willingness. So I took some notes on this day before yesterday. So I want to make sure so if you see me looking, that's why I'm reading that. And I want to read her definition. Willingness is a state of mind, is a state of mental and emotional receptivity. The will is the controlling and direct faculty of the mind that determines your conscience and your character. Simply put, you willing to do a thing is your conscience and your character lining up to do the thing. Okay? Are you willing to do something? And so there's things that we know we need to do, but we're not willing to do them because we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to look like a Miss Know-It-All or Mr. Know-It-All. We don't want to be the leader. We don't want to take the first step. We're not willing to defend ourselves if we're challenged. And we are unwilling. And the more we become unwilling to do anything, the more we become resistant to change, i.e., hardworking, negative mindset. But are you willing, though? That wasn't her words, those are mine. But are you willing, though? So a lot of us, and you may say, but JoJo, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. But if you are willing to do that, if you're willing to do the thing and willing to help, you will automatically know the answer. Come on, knowing and willingness. That's just, you have knowledge and you don't apply it. So what good is it for you to read a book if you're not going to apply the knowledge? Good morning, Michael. How are you? What good is it if you're not going to apply it? So the willingness is a state of mental and emotional receptivity. The will is the controlling and direct faculty of the mind that determines your conscience and your character. If you see wrong and you're not willing to check anything about it, that is a direct result of your conscience and your character. Because please understand, that day that my ex-husband jerked me out of my shoes by the back of my shirt, and my neighbor was standing there smoking her cigarette, she looked at me and did just like this, as I was screaming for help. That was her willingness to do nothing. That spoke of her conscience and her character right there. So your willingness not to do a thing speaks to your conscience and your character. Now, you could be not willing to do something because you're nervous and you're scared. And it is okay to be those things. I don't want people to tell you, girl, be... Hey, the name of my company is Be Fearless Incorporated. That simply means I embrace the fear that I'm feeling and I'm going to move in it anyway. That's all that means. I acknowledge that the fear is there. I also acknowledge that I have the willingness to do something about it. That I'm willing to say, okay, fear, I see you, but I'm going to move in you anyway. Some of us see the fear and we allow the fear to check us and set us back. Now, I'm not saying that the fear is not real. It could absolutely be real, but so is the power that you have inside of you. Now, you can use that fear and let it guide you towards a thing, towards where you want to go, what you want to be. You can allow it to be your guiding force of what you don't want to have happen. But you can't let it overtake you so it doesn't allow anything to happen. So willingness is a state of mental and emotional receptivity. Some of us are not willing because we don't want to look stupid. Girl, I would do that, but you know, I don't know how it's going to work out. So you're not willing to even take a chance on yourself. But you're going to talk about somebody else who will. How that's right. That's just my opinion. You're not willing to look stupid. You're not willing to sound stupid. Y'all realize that's my fear every time I turn on this camera. I know that what I'm sharing helped me, but I'm not sure if what I'm sharing is going to help someone else. However, here is where it overcomes that. The willingness of me to share anyway, me looking at that fear and say, I don't care regardless of what I'm feeling. Someone absolutely needs to know that this is a step to live past crazy. Allows me to push that button that says go live. It allows me to say, welcome to the Fearless Morning Show. It allows me to do those things. So in your willingness, boo, you got to run the risk of being wrong. I run that risk we all run that risk every day. But some of us are just more calculated with it than others. You see what I'm saying? So you got to run the risk of being wrong. And some of us, we're not willing to do anything because we would have to then defend ourselves if someone challenged us. And we ain't fixing to do that. And the more unwilling you are to not do anything, thank you, Miss Stevens. The more unwilling you are to not do a thing is the more resistance to change you become. That means the more unwilling you become to learn something new, the more unwilling you become to try something, to be the change that your family's waiting on, the more you stay in this, I've been doing this my whole life, so I might as well keep doing it. The more you won't change. the more resistant you become to change, and the harder it will be when somebody introduces something new into your life for you to accept it as reality, because your willingness to do so in the beginning was gone. Good morning, Miss Leah. So willingness is a state of mental and emotional receptivity, and the will is the controlling and directive faculty of the mind that determines your conscience and your character. So we're not willing to do things because we don't want to look stupid. We don't take the first step. We don't want to be the leader. We don't want to run the risk of being wrong. We don't want to have to defend ourselves. And the more we are unwilling, the more we become resistant. And this was so good. I had to type this word for word. Willingness fosters and builds a courageous character. We all need the courage in order to be willing to honor the divine in the face of our human challenges. Can I say that again for you? Willingness fosters and builds courageous character, right? Because it's your conscience in action. We all need the courage in order to be willing to honor the divine in the face of our human challenges. That means if I have the courage and I am willing to do what the divine, God, universe, whomever you pray to, whomever you talk to, it always going to call for you to be courageous, but you also have to be willing to do the work that it has set you here to do. And you got to be willing to honor that you were chosen and honor the space that you're given at that moment to be willing to make a change in someone else's life. Because you're going to face human challenges because we're human. But if you honor the divine in you, because you were created from that, right? So if you honor the divine in you, then it makes it easier for you to continue out the change. And when you honor the divinity in you, the God in you, the universe in you, the energy, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, when you honor that, then boo, when life challenges you, then, as they say, you got that rock. You got the rock to lean on, or you got a stronger foundation because you understand some things. But first, you got to be willing to do the thing. And sometimes they say it so much better than me. And what she's basically saying is you ask for it, but you got to be willing to do the work of the answer. Hers sound better than mine saying you got to be willing to do the work of the answer. Willingness, if you're willing to do the thing, strengthens your connection between the physical and the spiritual. It strengthens your connection between the physical and the mental when you are willing to carry out what you were sent here to do. The more you are unwilling to do the thing, the more you are unwilling to acknowledge that you need to, because unwillingness is resistance to live out your greatness. Unwillingness is resistance to admit that you may need to handle something. Unwillingness is resistance to you saying, I know I need to check this thing, but I can't. And you're not checking it because you're not willing to deal with the ramifications that come with it. And the more you're not willing to deal with that, the more you're going to be resistant to any kind of change that's going to come your way. I.e., that's how mom and them can do the same thing for 50, 60 years. They can go to the same church, sit in the same spot, say the same prayer, and still receive no answer to the same question that they've been praying about for 60 years. Because the answer is willingness to do something about it. And because they are not willing to do anything about it, everything stays the same. That's how come they can say, if it ain't one thing, it's another. It's because you're not willing to change the other. You're not willing. And the more that you refuse to acknowledge the divine guidance in you, is the more you are resistant to change. The more you accept your less than. Come on, somebody. I just got that for my whole self. A to the man. Willing, you must be willing. And I hadn't even read that part. Thank you, Jesus. Look at that. You must be willing to be a true representative of the divine nature. And you will realize the necessity to building a solid spiritual foundation. But you got to understand that you are a representative of it. So you cannot tell me, and here's where I like to keep things real simple. You cannot tell me that I'm made in the image of God and I pray, and you cannot tell me all these things, and then you are resistant to the change that you need to accomplish the thing you need to do. You cannot tell me that. You cannot tell me that you stand, I understand the divine that lives in me, and I pray to him, Lord Jesus, make a way, and yet you stay in the same problem situation. You cannot tell me that you honor that divinity, or you honor that spiritual being or God or whomever you pray to. You can't tell me you honor that when you don't change that. When the natural progression of man is to be great, but you're not. And here you are going back and forth. Oh, I believe in God and I pray. But as soon as you got off the altar of the praying and you was walking out the door and you left what you said you was going to leave on the altar, before you got in your car, you went back and picked it up off the altar because you're not willing to do anything about it. You're not willing to do the work to change it. So you're not willing to do anything makes you resistant to change. That's why you can't move. That's why you can't have another relationship. That's why you can't leave your job. That's why you stay in broken relationships and friendships. Come on, ma'am. Thank you. Absolutely. There is, if you read the Bible, and I am no Bible scholar by any means, but I can tell you that there's not a person in the Bible who did not, if he encountered someone who represented the divine, who allowed the divine to guide them or lead them somewhere. You can't tell me, you can't find a person in the Bible who did not require a change from them instantaneously. Once they met the divine, once they understood the purpose of it, once they understood the directive of what they were supposed to do, that they did not instantaneously change. That's nowhere in the Bible. I'm willing to put some money on that. And I'm not a Bible scholar. I ain't never been to school to study it. I might have read it a couple of times. And I may not be the best at recalling scriptures. But I can about guarantee that everyone in there, it required a change of them. And it required their willingness to do so. Because take the lazy man at the gate. He sat there for how many years did he sit there at that gate? With his little cup, asking for help. And it wasn't until he became willing to accept it and they extended the right hand of fellowship to him and said, "Come, brother, you got to stand up. You say you want this thing, but are you willing to do the work of the thing?" And here's my thought right here in work. You got to be bold enough to ask the question, bold enough to receive the answer. You got to be bold enough to do the work of the answer. And this was this brother finally saying, I've been bold enough to ask the question, but I ain't been bold enough to do the work of the answer. Let me go ahead and do the work of the answer. And the work of the answer was accepting the right hand of fellowship and standing up on his own. Did I get the story right? But it all required him to change instantaneously. And it required him to have a willingness to do so. If you're not willing, then you become resistant to change. And that is how you can sit at the gate called Beautiful for years. That is how you can stay sick forever, knowing what you could do to change your health around, but you don't do it because you're not willing to do the work that is required. So can you say that you're honoring anybody or anything if you're not willing to do, if you're not willing to take the guidance of it? You must be willing to be a true, let me get back to her notes. You must be willing to be a true representative of the divine energy. And when you do that, you realize the necessity to building a solid spiritual foundation. However you call your spiritual foundation, because all religions require you to have one. Whether you call it God, universe, whomever. It requires you to have a foundation. You cannot stand without it. Willingness does not mean that people will agree with you. It doesn't make life easier. It makes it easier for you to move through every experience that you may confront in life. Period. In the beginning, y'all, I've been on this journey for 16 years. In the beginning, I'm not telling you it was easy. It was hard as hell. It was so hard in the beginning. 16 years ago, you could not have told me I would be here. But 16 years ago, I realized that I was willing never to live in that again. I was willing never to live in a shelter again. And so with my willingness, it didn't matter if I looked stupid, if I sounded stupid, if people questioned me. It didn't matter if I run the risk of looking wrong or if I failed forward. None of that mattered. All that mattered was my willingness not to do this again, because I knew something different was here. But your willingness is going to take you there. But if you never start on this journey, boo, okay, you will never see what your willingness can give you. So you will always stay one day, and it will never come. One day will come on your deathbed. So we're celebrating day ones here. We're not celebrating 1 days, because they not coming. They ain't ever going to get here. And I want you to understand, it's not going to happen overnight. It is your willingness every day to have a day one that gets you the results that you need. Today is 16 years of day ones. 16 years of day one of saying, on this journey, I absolutely refuse to come off of wanting more here. I'm not negotiating here, and I'm damn sure not accepting anything here. I said I want it here. This is what I'm giving. This is what I'm accepting, and so you better bring it here. 16 years of day ones. And sometimes that's how you got to look at it. Because like she said, willingness makes it easier for you to move through every experience that you may confront in life. I'm not saying when my lights was off and the water was off, I didn't have no gas to go to school. I didn't have no gas to take the kids to school. I didn't have no groceries in the house. I let the kids eat. I made up meals. Honey, I did everything in the book, but it was the willingness. You know what? And this is truly how I talk to myself. JoJo, listen, this is hard, sister. I want you to go ahead and cry today. I want you to go ahead and cry today, because I need you to relieve this pressure off of your chest right now. So when you cry, you're going to relieve that pressure off your chest. And then I want you to understand that you still have got to keep going. You can't stop today just because it feels bad today. There is going to be something better there. I promise you, JoJo. But you just got to go through this. And so if you just give yourself, JoJo, don't give you a whole day. I want you to go cry. I want you to do whatever you got to do. Feel bad. Have your pity party, boo. Tell me how bad it is. And we can talk about it. But in the morning, it's day one again. We starting this thing over. And it was consistently having a day one. It was consistently being willing to say, man, that knocked me upside the head. Oh, well, I still got to keep going. It is your willingness. What did she say? It is your willingness that builds that determines your consciousness and your character. Every day, I was willing to understand that this was not my end all to be all. This ain't it. But I had to be willing to keep moving through it. And if you're not willing to even begin the journey, then you will be resistant to any kind of change. And let's just be real simple. And I love all of y'all. This is about as simple as I can understand it for myself. And I hope you can understand it. Your willingness, if you don't have any, makes you so resistant to change that when someone else decides to change, you cannot understand it. That's why your mama can't understand what you're doing. She wasn't willing when she had the opportunity. And so now she's gotten stuck in the resistance of it. She doesn't understand it. Doesn't make her bad. Doesn't make anybody better than anybody else. That's just what she chose. That's what your daddy chose. Your mama, your sister, your cousin, your brother, your best friend, your boo thing, your husband. That's just what they chose, and that's okay. But if you're at that point and you're looking at your willingness and you're understanding your divinity and you're trying to honor the God in you to do what he sent you here to do, they are not going to understand day one of your journey, boo, because they have sat down and decided that I am unwilling to take the first step, to be the leader. I'm unwilling to fail forward. I'm unwilling to defend myself when I am wanting to change my thing. They may have allowed their mother to make them stay where they are, and they were unwilling to challenge that thought process or that behavior or those, they're not, these are spiritual habits. They're not curses. They're spiritual behaviors and thought processes. It's not a curse. It's a thought that you have over and over every day. It's a habit that you do over and over every day. And so your mother, she didn't never question that. She never challenged it. And so here you are in your willingness to understand the divinity in you, and not that she's not living in her divinity. She absolutely is. It's probably just now been adjusted to accept that this is all the blessings she wants to receive. And it is more than enough for her soul to feel happy. And here you come along to say, but mama, can we get another blessing past the one we had 20 years ago? Here you are challenging things, trying to honor more of the divinity that's in you to move and do different things. And so your willingness is challenging her resistance to change. So she's not going to understand you moving forward. Your best friend ain't going to understand this point. This will be rocket science to them. They'll be like, what, Jojo, what is it that you're saying? And that is as simple as I can make it. You are wanting to go and you're wanting to change. Their unwillingness to move makes them unwilling to understand the change. It's that simple. And never the two shall meet. They will never understand. They may respect that you choose to move on, but they may never understand why you chose to move on. It is because you allowed your willingness to continue to guide you. And when you become willing, you strengthen your connection between the physical and the spiritual. You must be willing to be a true representative of the divine energy that lives inside of you. And the more that you resist that, the more you cannot understand change. The more rigid you become in your thinking, the harder it is for you to move outside the paradigm of the box of religion. The harder it is for you to move outside the paradox of your family dynamics, what a relationship should look like, what friendship should look like. You can't see outside of your box because you've been so unwilling that you become resistant to anything. It's like you become stone and you cannot move. Y'all just got my whole life in the past 10 minutes. A to the men. Somebody come on with me. I'm just telling you. Willingness does not mean that people agree with you. It just makes it easier for you to move through life. You becoming willing to pursue those things that are in your best interest and the best interest of the world around you is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Willingness is an active declaration of the divinity in you. Willingness is an active declaration, period. Are you willing to do the thing? Are you willing to change? Tie it back to yesterday, that likability trap. Are you willing to get out of that likability trap? Some of us are not. We were like, well, you don't know how strong my mama is. And if y'all missed the show yesterday, go listen to how strong my mother and my sister and my aunt are. They are about as strong as it can get when it comes to fighting things with change. But I was willing to do. I was unwilling to stay the same. I was unwilling to do that, which left me open to be willing to do more. And in your willingness to do more, boom. Y'all remember the other day when I talked about your blessing and your abundance is in the instructions? In your willingness to do a thing comes with instructions. Your abundance and your answer are in the instructions of the thing. But if they don't know, if the divine that lives in you doesn't know that you're willing because you're not trying to honor that divinity in you, you're not trying to honor that connection, The answer that you're seeking, it can't come to you because you don't want it, because you're not willing to do the work of it. And the work of it is in the instructions. Willingness is an active declaration. The Fearless Thought of the Day is brought to you by Iyanla Vanzant. She gave me the outline. The rest of it is mine. Y'all got my whole life. You must be willing to be a true representative of the divine energy that lives in you. Willingness does not mean that people will like you. It doesn't mean they'll agree with you. It just makes it easier for you to move through every experience that you may confront in your life. Good morning, Mama. That's what it does. Willingness is an active declaration. Some of us are not willing. We know what to do. You know the answer, but you're not willing to do it because you don't want to sound stupid. You don't want to look like a Miss Know-It-All. You don't want to fail forward. You don't want to defend yourself when people challenge you, and you don't want to be the leader. And the more you are unwilling to move, the more you become resistant to change. And that's why it's so hard to change. But it takes willing. Day one is being willing. It leads me back to these two quotes that have earned a spot on my wall quote. I've learned never to close my mind to any idea simply because it's miraculous. That's my willingness to see the idea as miraculous. If you're not even willing to see your idea as a miracle in the making, it will never be. Boo, you are the miracle. Period. And the second quote, that's just going to show it up a little bit, as my grandpa used to say. You are qualified to be exceptional. You are nervous about being exceptional in front of your current community, family, and friends. That's why you don't want to be exceptional. That's why you're not willing. That's why you don't want to move forward, because you know that there's greatness in you. And at any point in time that you acknowledge that and just allow it just for a minute, that you're going to be nervous and you are questioning how other people are going to receive you. And so you stay where you are. And the longer you stay where you are not moving, it's the longer that you become resistant to any change. But you're absolutely qualified to be exceptional. You know that. I know that. But you got to be willing, sister, to do day one, not one day. It ain't going to happen sitting on the shelf. That book back there, ain't now one of them going to read themselves. The information is there. It is in the instructions of it. And the instructions say, go do. The abundance, the answer, the peace, the be peaceful, the live past crazy, my sister's keeper, all of that is in the instructions. But you got to be willing to get there first. So it's there. It's in the instructions. So on this wonderful day, I want you guys to have an amazing day. The Fearless Thought of the Day is you got it. But are you willing, though? Are you willing? The quote of the day: no amount of hard work can overcome a negative mindset. You see that every day. People work at the same job 50 years and still complain. Ain't got nothing good. That's got to be, and it has got to be. It is hard. You think being positive is hard. It is hard to find something negative to say about life every single day. You can't enjoy the birds chirping because the grass is wet. You can't enjoy the sunshine because it's too hot. You can't enjoy the rain watering the flowers because it's raining too much. You can't enjoy the cold weather that pauses the earth, that allows it to breathe and heal because it's too cold. You can't enjoy a meal because you didn't do it or somebody didn't cook. Like, it takes work for you to focus on things that you don't like. That take work. You telling me it's hard to be positive? Boo, it ain't hard to be positive. I am the miracle. I woke up this morning. I am it. I am the divinity living and working and moving on this earth. And he trusted me to do some things. I'm excited about that. And so in my excitement, I get to see the wonders of the world every day. And that's what I choose to focus on. So what is the point of your life, of your understanding, of your journey, if you're unwilling to see even the good stuff for just a second? What is the point of it? What is the point? What is the meaning of your life at that point? Willingness. If you're not willing to at least step out on day one, the more resistant to change you become. The more you will stay stuck where you are. The more you will not understand the change that needs to come. The more you will not be able to accept anybody wanting to change it for themselves. You can't accept it because you never allowed your mind to comprehend it for yourself. And because you can't comprehend it for yourself, you assume it's wrong. That's not true. What is true, and we deal with facts only. Y'all know my kids hate that. Can you give me the facts only? We don't want to talk about how you feel. I need to deal with facts only. The facts are, were you willing to do it? If you had the opportunity and you said no, that's a fact. There is not, as Grant Cardone, are you interested, are you committed? If you're interested, all of your excuses will be valid. If you're committed, all your excuses will be valid and you will do it anyway. You are so powerful, my friend, my sister, my brother, that you have convinced yourself that you're not powerful, that you're powerless. You have overridden the divinity in you that told you all these great, amazing things. When you were born, it was given to you what you were supposed to do, how you were supposed to be. And then as a kid, you dreamed it, you felt it, and you moved inside of it without any restriction. And then life happened and you stopped being willing to dream about the thing. You stopped being willing to take action on the thought. And you stopped being willing to even look at the greatness around you. So you became resistant to change. And so you no longer honor the divinity that is in you. You're taking all the power that was given to you that you still currently have, and you're using it to override the divinity and greatness in you. That is how powerful you are. You are overriding your whole entire system of your being that you were put here for. And you want to tell me you can't do anything. That makes no sense. I cannot comprehend that. And I try to be a very open-minded person. I cannot comprehend that. You've got to be willing to pursue the things that are in your best interest and that are in the best interest of the world around you. You got to be willing to have a day one first, girl. Come on now. That gets me angry. I get really upset about that because I understand. I may not know your story, but I understand the journey. I understand the journey of not having nothing. And then you get it. You still don't appreciate it. You lose it and you get it again. And eventually, boo, you're going to have to come to the spot where you honor the divinity in you. You got to be willing to be the leader. You got to be willing to make a change, because you cannot continue to complain about what's not changing when it is you that embodies the change, period. That is why it is so important and essential for me to be my sister's keeper. That's why regardless if I'm afraid or if I'm scared, what is that quote by Audre Lorde? It becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. I love that quote. And it is so, it is, when I dare to be powerful, here it is. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. My vision and my strength is that I'm the Live Past Crazy specialist. I am my sister's keeper. And when I think about that and what I went through, and that it is essential for me to share a step with a sister, regardless whether she receives it at that moment or not, as long as I can plant that seed, it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid to hit that live button, to share with y'all, to tell you I got a class, to tell you anything. None of that becomes me being scared is less and less important, because my vision and my strength of my purpose and me honoring the divine in me, the reason why I was sent here, is the utmost important. Not saying that I'm not afraid. I'm not saying that I'm not scared, but I am willing in the face of all of that to continue to do it. But are you willing though? And I love that quote. When I dare to be powerful, sister, when you dare to be powerful, to use your strength in the service of your vision, then it becomes less and less important whether you are afraid. Period. Willingness is a state of mental and emotional receptivity. The will is the controlling and direct faculty of the mind that determines your consciousness and your character. Willingness fosters and builds a courageous character. We all need the courage in order to be willing to honor the divine in the face of our human challenge. That means if I'm willing, it doesn't matter what I come up against. Me being willing, power to continue to move past it. And when you do that, it shows the connection between your physical and your spiritual. It builds that relationship. So on this wonderful day, I've got my whole life this morning. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Because I understand some things. It is the willingness of it. And you got to be willing, sister. Today is day one. We're not doing 1 days. It's time to take the book off your shelf. It's time to honor yourself with yourself. No one else is going to do that for you. And if you don't think you're worth it, there's absolutely no prayer. There's nothing a pastor, there's nothing anybody can ever say to you anytime, anywhere that's going to make you feel any better about yourself if you don't first feel it for yourself. That security and confidence that you were seeking from other people, it must come from you first. I had to give it to JoJo first before I could receive it from anyone else. You can't receive it in a relationship. You can't understand it in a friendship. You got to give it to yourself first, and you got to be willing to honor yourself with yourself. On that note, I will be hosting the 5 Keys to Live Past Crazy this evening. We all describe crazy differently. However you describe it is how you describe it. Go to bit.ly/5PASS, the number 5 and the word pass. Sign up for that today. That is this evening at 7 o'clock. I will be teaching you the 5 Keys to Live Past Crazy because, boo, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. Step 1 of Live Past Crazy is to be quiet. That's step 1. And in that step 1, there's some extra steps up under there. But step 1 is to be quiet. And in that being quiet, that's where you begin your willingness to begin this journey. So wherever you are on this journey, I welcome you. You have arrived at the exact most amazing time for you. You couldn't have came yesterday. You couldn't have listened to the story yesterday. You had to listen today for you to receive it today. And so your journey begins this day, because this day you are willing. I dare you just for a second to be willing to think that you're an exception, that you're exceptional. Don't be nervous about the people who will see you to grow to continue to be exceptional. It doesn't matter. Don't close your mind to any idea simply because it's miraculous. It was given to you because it chose you. That idea chose you out of all the people in the world. It chose you for you to bring it to this earth. And y'all know my quote, somebody's waiting for me to move and they will not move until I move. I can't be my sister's keeper until my sister, you do what you're supposed to do. So what I need to complete on this earth is totally dependent upon you because we work on this thing together. And so the quote, when you dare to be powerful, to use your strength in the service of your vision, then it becomes less and less important whether you are afraid. I have that on a sticky note. I have it everywhere because there's a constant reminder, like when I'm scared or when I'm afraid, it doesn't matter. So on this wonderful day, this wonderful Thursday, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope this has helped you. I want you to be willing today. Can we just be willing today? Okay? Willingness is an active declaration. Then the answers will come. So on this wonderful Thursday, I want you to have an amazing day. Please make sure you share the show because sharing is caring. If your friends and family do not have Facebook, send them over to the YouTube channel. They can binge watch all the Fearless Morning shows. If they're podcast people, I do have a podcast. I just loaded some shows yesterday. They're where podcasts are found. I'm on Apple, Android, whatever you listen to. That's where I am. Stitcher, whomever you listen to. The name of the show, of course, is the Live Past Crazy Show. So if you type in my name, you will find it, I promise. So they can catch up on the episodes over there on podcast. Don't forget tonight I am hosting the 5 Keys to Live Past Crazy. It doesn't matter what your crazy is. Your crazy ain't got to be mine. It don't have to. These are things I'm giving some life advice. These are some things that you can apply to any period in your life that's going to help lessen the chaos for you. So bit.ly/5past, the number 5 and the word past. So make sure you sign up for that today and share it with a sister and bring a sister with you. So on this wonderful Thursday, I want you to have an amazing day. I want you to be peaceful, period, because there's nothing after that. Nothing after that. But be willing. Today is day 1. And if you're just willing just for the day, tomorrow you'll remember what it felt like and you will begin your day 1 again. So I hope this has helped someone. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have, please let me know so I know that I'm not talking to myself. I want you to have an amazing day. Be willing today, okay? Honor the divine in you and be willing to do what you were sent here to do. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good one.